Hey, hi everyone. Hope you all are doing good. In my today's session, I'm going to explain about an error scenario, a very typical scenario which will occur when you make a mistake while configuring the table relationships, or I can say the foreign key relationships basically. So, what is the error scenario? Entity framework throws invalid column name exception. EF adds number 1 to foreign key column while constructing the transact SQL statements. Okay. What happens is basically if you have a foreign key column, then for that foreign key column, if for example foreign key column, so basically what happens is suppose the foreign key column is say uh, department ID. Okay. What happens is while constructing the query, it will automatically create one more column name in your select statement like department ID 1. You will be puzzled out because when you go to your data management studio like SSMS or Azure Data Studio and connect to your database and check the table, no, table doesn't have any such column like ending with number 1. Okay. So usually you will be puzzled up and you will think how come this could happen, but the root cause lies when you are configuring your relationships using the entity framework library. Okay, so you will end up with getting an exception called an exception occurred while iterating over the results of a query for context type, your database context class basically. Okay, so what is the exception? It's a SQL exception saying that invalid column name with actual column name plus 1 added, as I said, for example department ID 1. So what is the cause? The mapping or relationship of the tables have been configured wrong, or the model properties and table column mapping is wrong. Two possible scenarios that I'm going to explain now. So what is the resolution? While configuring the model properties, making use of wrong column name for the table. For example, on model configuring, okay, on your DB context class on model configuring, what happens is basically due to a mistake of typo. For example, see this property. Okay, I'm configuring this dot property where employee gives employee.email has a column name in database table email, but while configuring this property for employee gives employee.id, okay, mistakenly you provided something other database column name. That's it. Okay, I think this is the one cause which will end up in creating that kind of exceptions. And so what is the solution? You should always give the mapping names of your entities property and your database tables column name. They should match basically. Okay, second is while configuring relationship types or mappings basically like one to many. So imagine there is a relationship between student and department table. Okay, the student table references or okay, the student table references department basically. Okay, a student can be associated with one department, whereas a one department can have many students. Okay, now while configuring this relationship, see model builder.entity student, it has one department which is correct, but if you leave this with many empty, you will end up in creating this kind of exception. So what is the solution? Simply specify that with many d gives d dot students, the navigation property. So you are clearly telling entity framework that student has a foreign key reference to department, and one student can be okay, one a student is associated with only one department, whereas a department can have multiple students with many. Okay, so this is the solution basically in order to avoid this kind of exception. Okay, because if you go to the database table and check, you won't get this kind of column, the actual column name plus one. No, this is the issue with the configuration basically that we have to correct. So that's what I have mentioned. We specified the dbo.student has one department but forgot to configure dbo.department has many dbo.students. That's it. This part. Okay. So I hope you people understood why this particular exception occurs, what is the root cause of that, and you also understood how to overcome this particular error scenario. Thanks for listening and have a nice day, guys.